The pre-existing narrative the Democrats have been trying to sell to you about Biden is that he is the safe, stable guy. The most damaging emerging political narrative about Biden, which he's done to himself, is the reality that he's not stable. Let's start out last night, being that it's the day before CPAC. We're getting ready to travel here. Let's start out with kind of the big flubs from last night's debate. And when I say flubs, I mean, just listen, this is supposed to be the safe lane, right? For many of you who've listened to my show, you understand my theory of presidential electoral politics, which is there are always three lanes in any presidential race. It's not an oversimplification to say this. If you look back at the dynamics of significant presidential races over the last 50 years, you'll see candidates from each of these three lanes emerge. There's the safe lane, sometimes called the establishment pick, the radical lane, what we'd call the ideological pick sometimes, and the outsider lane. You'll see those. And depending on the current mood of the country, is everything going well and they want to keep everything the same, then the safe pick's the way to go. That's why presidents are typically reelected, sitting presidents. Is it one of those disastrous depression-like times where they want the radical ideological pick who gains some, the Jennings-Bryan type, who gets some kind of, traction behind him? Or is it the outsider pick where people are just fed up with D.C. in general, where you have a Donald Trump type that comes in and sweeps the deck? Depends on who does well in the lane, who's authentic to the lane, and as I've said in the past, what lane is dominant at the time overall when it comes to looking at the people's collective where they want to go forward. All right. Having said that, the safe lane in this election, or what's been deemed the safe lane, the establishment lane, have been two now candidates. Originally, it was Joe Biden. Now you see Mike Bloomberg. Let me tell you again with these two clips here, the two major flubs of the night, why these guys are not safe. Biden's not safe because he can never surgically remove his foot from his mouth, forgets what state he's in, what race he's running for. He declared he was running for the U.S. Senate the other day. Not kidding. Didn't play the video because it's just dumb. But here again is an example last night in a debate where Biden's never measured by how well he does. Remember, this is the safe pick, supposedly. The establishment pick. Right. He's supposed to be the safe candidate. He's never measured. You notice this show by how well he does? Never. He's only measured by how little he screws up. Here was another colossal screw up last night where he can't seem to get basic data, statistics. I mean, basic stuff. You're right. He's trying to cite a statistic for gun homicides in the United States. Listen to this clip and keep in mind when you're listening to it, the population of the United States is about 330, 350 million people, depending on how many legals versus illegals in the country. So about, let's say, 350 million people, to be generous. Now listen to Biden's statistic on gun homicides and gun violence, and you'll see how this guy has no place in this debate, definitely not in the safe lane. Check this out.
I'm the only one that ever got it done nationally. I beat the NRA twice. I got assault weapons banned. I got magazines that could not hold more than 10 rounds in them. I got them eliminated, except we had a thing called an election with hanging chads in Florida, and it was not reauthorized. In addition to that, I passed the Brady bill with waiting periods. I led that fight. But my friend to my right and others have, in fact, also given to the gun manufacturers absolute immunity. Imagine if I stood here and said we give immunity to drug companies, we give immunity to tobacco companies. That has caused carnage on our streets. 150 million people have been killed since 2007 when Bernie voted to exempt the gun manufacturers from liability. More than all the wars, including Vietnam, from that point on. Carnage on our street. And I want to tell you, if I'm elected and I'm coming for you and gun manufacturers, I'm going to take you on and I'm going to beat you.
Huh? Hold on. Can I get Joe? Quick math here. Can I be my own audience referee and ombudsman? I know that's your job, typically, Joe, but I know you're busy. We're traveling today, so I'm just going to do some 300.
I'll lay out, man.
By 150. Mm-hmm. So about 45% of the U.S. population has been killed by guns in the last. What do you say? Since 2007? So 13. Oh my gosh. Wow, what an epidemic. Listen, I'm not here to downplay any kind of gun. That's never a joke, folks. But if you're going to speak about things that are seriously tragic, like gun violence, you may want to get the numbers like close, like a little bit. 150 million people have been killed by guns. 150 million. Listen, did he mean to say 150,000? The truth is with Joe Biden, ladies and gentlemen, I have no idea. He said he was arrested going to see Nelson Mandela the other day, too, and that wasn't true, too. Oh, by the way, I don't have this in the show today, but just on a side note, just showing you again, piling on the fact that this guy is not the safe pick. He can never get a statistic right, forgets what state he's in, forgets what race he's running in, makes up facts about his past. He said he was arrested going to see Nelson Mandela in the 70s on a CODEL, a congressional delegation trip, when he was a member of the Senate. Well, what happened? Well, apparently they were detained at the airport. When they say detained, they were probably just stopped for a passport check. Ladies and gentlemen, I have traveled around the world extensively in my prior line of work. 37-something countries, probably 60-plus cities. You go to countries, you can bounce around, obviously, to various cities in there, which is what we did. I was detained once, in Joe Biden language. Matter of fact, multiple times while people check my passport. I'm unaware I had to fill out Paul, I was arrested in foreign countries. 10 times I was arrested. I got an extensive arrest record, apparently, overseas. Ladies and gentlemen, you see how this guy just makes things up? We had a WACA guy, White House Communications Agency guy. I've told the story before when I did a security advance at Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan, who had to turn in a car on the military base. And he was late to get back on the support plane home. Was he arrested too? I mean, do I have to fill out paperwork for him? I have to notify his family? This guy just makes stuff up, folks. He is not the safe pick. These things add up, and they add the most damage. Listen to me. This is important. The most damaging political narratives are the one that change pre-existing narratives about who a candidate is. The pre-existing narrative the Democrats have been trying to sell to you about Biden is that he is the safe, stable guy. The most damaging emerging political narrative about Biden, which he's done to himself, is the reality that he's not stable. And when I say stable, I don't mean he's sociopathic. I mean he doesn't mentally present a coherent, cogent case that he's on his game. He just doesn't do it.
You just heard The Dan Bongino Show. You can also get Dan's podcasts on iTunes or SoundCloud. And follow Dan on Twitter 24/7 @DBongino.